The reason why I was given that big break at 12 years old to join a fully professional band was simple. It was 1969. His brand of music was typically 1930s. It was Dixieland
right?
dance band, but it wasn't kind of it wasn't Kenny Ball Dixieland, and Kenny used to play with my dad actually. It was much more organized. It was written out like a big band, but it was a smaller band because purely the finances of running a big band in post-war England was impossible. There was only a couple of bands doing it, you know, and it was tough. So my dad felt, you know what, I can orchestrate to make this band sound bigger than it is. And so he went out with a 9-piece. However, by 1969, there were not many drummers around that could play that style. Because they either wanted to play bebop or they wanted to play rock and roll.
Yeah.
And even the session guys, the older guys, were not really still playing that kind of music authentically. I grew up playing that music.
I think if you know, listen to, I don't know, Mitch Mitchell or people like that, you can hear that Buddy Rich influence and, you know,
all the drummers
big
of that
band
time.
influence. Yeah, of course.
John Bonham, Ian Paice, John Hiseman, Mitch Mitchell, all the British drummers grew up playing skiffle and Dixieland. Cozy. I mean, all of them. It's amazing.
Moon even. I mean,
everybody.
You'd have a lot to say about his parts because you had to play them.
Yeah. So that was the thing. So I was too young to kind of know about that. I grew up playing my dad's music. So even though it was very raw and no dynamics, but I did know how to play that groove. And he just, every night he'd come back and he'd go, bloody drummer. Drummer couldn't get it. And my mom said, you have a drummer here who plays that music just fine. And he would say, oh, he's way too young. And she said, maybe not.
So your mum was okay with that?
Oh, yeah. She was amazing. She said, I can't stand to see you in such, you know, stress of having a band that's not, and if the drummer isn't playing the right groove, the band won't sound right. That's when I was taken out on the road. And it was a learning curve. It was an apprenticeship, and the other guys of the band were like, oh boy, you know. But my dad got his groove back. And that's what and I learned so much. It was a 4-year apprenticeship.
Is it safe to say that your fate was sealed already back then?
Oh, in my mind, it was sealed when I was 3 years old.
You didn't consider any other paths, you know?
No, I had no other. To me, I was at school. I was going. I had a watch that had years on it, not hours. I said, oh, 5 years to go. 5 years to professional drummer. That's what time it is, you know. No, I knew nothing else but wanting to do this for the rest of my life.
And you started pretty early. I mean, aside from the gig that your father got you later, you were very young doing already session work and...
Absolutely, 16 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, you've mentioned your experience that, you know, helps you doing clinics. Let's talk about it because, you know, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, it's very difficult to actually memorize the list of artists you've worked with, possibly even for you.
Now it's a little difficult. 48 years of doing this professionally, it's kind of tough,
Different styles you've done, probably apart from extreme metal, you've done it all, basically.
Yeah.
How does it actually help you when doing clinics? Does it, translate at all into being a clinician?
Only in the way I can demonstrate maybe different styles of playing, but playing different styles of music adds to your vocabulary, and that's what's important, especially as for improvisation as a soloist. That really helps too. I can go kind of any way in terms on a solo to incorporate more of a more of a rock approach, or more of a jazz approach, or more of a funk approach. Do you see what I mean? So, but it just adds to to your experience of playing, really.
Do you actually get asked about your back catalogue at clinics,
Sure.
or to play some stuff from?
Oh yeah, I get asked. I mean, somebody asked me the other day, in 1986, you played on a Nick Kershaw album.
Exactly.
And I went, yeah, I did.
Did I?
Yeah, and I had to recall the session, which strangely enough, I was in England before I came over here. I was doing a recording session at Real World, Peter Gabriel's studio, and the engineer that was on that Nick Kershaw album came by to see me.
I think.
Yes. Yeah. Wow, you did your homework.
Well, I mean, I'm 45. I grew up in the 80s.
Okay,
Nick Kershaw was, big back in the day.
Yeah, I played. I only remember playing one song, but apparently the guy told me I played two songs: "Violets to Blue" and another track. I don't remember what he said. But
I wouldn't know that.
Yeah,
Didn't go that.
But oh yeah, that happens all the time. But there's also other things that happen. People don't realize that I played on this album. This album. That's the weird thing.
Do they ask you about Judas Priest?
Oh, of course, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's amazing. A lot of young heavy metal drummers come up to me and say, "Man, that was my favorite album. That's what started me off." Like Jason Bittner. I mean, he loves that. Charlie Benante. I mean, they all just said, "Wow, we grew up playing to this when we were kids. Listening to it."
True.
And at the time, I had no idea that would be so influential. That album, Sin After Sin, was really, I think, the pivotal point of heavy metal. I think that was the first kind of way of getting into heavy metal, because we didn't have heavy metal then. It wasn't called that.
Which would actually make you one of the first heavy metal drummers.
Technically, it could.
In history.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, where I was coming from, playing that album was not heavy at all, but it was still fiery. Yeah. But it was coming from. My thing was always to play heavy rock with a funk groove, and to sit back on it. That was the difference. Most rock in those days was kind of on top, except for Ian Paice. Ian Paice and Cozy Powell had that kind of pocket, and Ian, I mean, still does. It's beautiful, and I loved Ian's playing because of that. Yeah. So I always tried to bring that to the table. Let's sit back, just like I'm playing with James Brown, except it's Sin After Sin. A lot of people won't even hear that in the music, but in my mind, I'm thinking, how would Bernard Purdie play with Judas Priest? I used to do that a lot, Conversely, when I would play an R&B session or a soul session, I'd think, for example, how would Tony Williams play this? Or how would Cozy Powell play this? Splashier cymbals, It was a very good way of making the music sound maybe a little bit different. And so that's kind of what was going on with Sin After Sin and Whitesnake, all these records.
Yeah. Is that generally your approach to session work? I mean, let's try to approach it from a different angle than you would normally do.
I always look for something different, always, yeah. But I don't use that literal kind of way of doing it because I'm much older and much more experienced, and I don't even think about it, actually. And there's something funny that happens, and this has happened for quite a few years, maybe 20, 25 years. I'll listen to the track, maybe with the guy drums, maybe not, just so I hear what else is going on. I might do a chart. And as I'm listening, I'll go, okay, I think I know what I'm going to do. And then when I get out there, put the phones on, I play nothing like what I think I was going to play. That's weird, because I just play. It's just instinct. And that's what I do. I just play the track from instinct. Just follow the chart. Sometimes there's a real chart, which is a bit more complicated, or it's just a handwritten thing. I usually do I didn't used to when I was younger, because I think my memory was, I was better at remembering a track just after one play. But I can't do that anymore. That's changed. Maybe because just the amount of music I played, maybe it's just age, I don't know. So I do tend to write a little cheat sheet out just in case we get a first take, because sometimes you can do that. It's just if the sound is right, and maybe if it's the third or fourth song of an album that you've already done 3 or 4, generally sometimes the first take's great. You know, maybe one little punch just to fix something, and that's it. You know, if it's not going to get better, then keep it fresh. You know.